Did you see the new UC Easy video that we created?
I haven't yet.
Oh, okay. So we should actually send a link out to you.
Yep.
It's not like 100%. It is. I think it's a good video. There's one screenshot which is a little bit home done, but other than that, I think it communicates a pretty good thing about who we are. And
oh, good. I'll have to check it out.
So you can actually check it out in the About Us section
Okay.
of our website.
Okay. Yeah, I was just on the website this morning, but I didn't get to that point, get to that section yet.
Okay, so a very warm welcome to our audience today. My name is Vinny Gupta, and I am a co-founder of UC Easy. We are the people that are sponsoring this webinar today. So before we introduce our expert for today, Katie Watts, you should be able to see her video. Let me just give you a quick introduction to UC Easy, and then we will get into the topic for today. So UC Easy stands for University and College Admissions Made Easy. Even though we have UC in the name, it has nothing to do with University of California. Now, our company's focus is that I am a first-generation immigrant, and so is my co-founder, and we started this company to make college admissions easy for other first-generation immigrant families. And almost 15 to 20% of US's population today kind of falls in that group. Perhaps not first-generation immigrant, but maybe second generation, but it's a large US population that falls in this group, and we really want to help them out. We are a social business. What that means is that I will talk about the business part in a second, but we also want to give back to the community. And we have several solutions that are completely free because we want to support every first-generation immigrant family regardless of their ability to pay anything or something. Here is just a quick overview of our solutions, and you can learn more on our website, uceasy.com. So we have in the toolbox section of the site, you will see a few web applications that are completely free that you can start using. One of them is about key dates for the application process. Another one is a place where you can catalog the extracurricular activities that the child does. Again, this section is Toolbox. Now, we do free webinars like this one today, but we also do a bunch of other webinars. We do a bunch of seminars in the California Bay Area. You can learn about those in our section called, on the website, in the section called Events. So for those of you in the California Bay Area, tomorrow we have a seminar at the Veda Temple in Milpitas. Next weekend, we will have 2 different seminars, and these are all listed on our site. Something to keep in mind that this webinar today is being recorded, and in the event section of our site, you can actually get free access to a lot of our previous webinars in case you want to access high quality content on any particular topic. Lastly, for families that require one-on-one coaching, personalized coaching for college admissions through people like Katie Watts, she will introduce herself in a second. We do offer that for a fee. And we will talk about this towards the end of the presentation. On our site, this is in a section called Union. And in terms of these personalized services that we provide, these services are in different areas pertaining to the entire spectrum of college admissions process. And again, that is our URL. With that, I'm going to invite Katie Watts to introduce herself and take us through the topic for today. Welcome, Katie. I'm going to stop sharing and you can take it from here.
Great. Thanks, Vinny. Let me go ahead and get my presentation up and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. One moment here. Great. As Vinny said, my name is Katie Watts, and I am a college counselor with UC Easy. I am in the Reno area of Nevada, so outside of Northern California by about 40 minutes. It has been snowing here a lot, so something that I'm still getting used to, being from California and in the Bay Area. So, all right, a little bit about me. I do have a master's in counseling, and I am a credentialed school counselor in 2 states, California and Nevada. And I have been working in schools since 2002. So I have a lot of years behind me as a high school counselor and college planner. I have worked in domestic schools, meaning in the US, and as well as international schools overseas. So that was exciting for a couple of years, working with foreign students coming to the US and really going all over for university. Right now, I'm actually developing the college counseling program for a startup school in Northern California in a small mountain town called Truckee. And I have 6 seniors, so it's been a lot of fun helping them and guiding them. And that is our first senior class. I'm very skilled in the AP and IB curriculum, and IB is International Baccalaureate, and that is a worldwide educational standard. So I can work in both areas of academics. I'm a member of a variety of organizations that support college admission counseling and school counseling, and you can see all those letters on the screen there. And I think more importantly, I am married with an almost 7-year-old daughter and an almost 2-year-old son, and they will both have their birthdays next month within 5 days of each other. So it's going to be a busy March. So let's go ahead and get started and talk about what we're going to learn today. So today we're going to talk about the types of college degrees. We're going to talk about the types of colleges in the US, estimated cost of attendance. This can be a whole different webinar on its own, but we're going to go over this very, very briefly. And we're going to look at some other key terms that you should know as you start your college planning. As I am speaking, feel free to type your questions in the box. We will have a Q&A at the end of the session. And for now, I'm just going to go ahead and get started with the presentation. All right, something you should know first before we go on to all of our slides is that the term college and university is pretty interchangeable in the US. College is also a four-year school, as well as university is a 4-year school. The main difference being at a college, you generally can earn up to your 4-year degree, which is your bachelor's. At a university, you can earn your bachelor's, a master's, a PhD, so a variety of degrees. So I'll be using the term college and university interchangeably today. So try not to get too confused over that. It means roughly the same thing. All right, in the US, we have over 4,000 colleges in the United States. So think about it for a second. How many can you actually name? Most students that I work with really can name a handful of schools. And those are generally the ones that we all know about, that we hear about in the news. You know, Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Stanford, maybe some of the universities from different states. You can see this really cool map here. It's representation of the most popular school in that state. So you can see in California, actually, USC, University of Southern California, is listed as the most popular, all the way up to Maine, and then, of course, UT Austin in Texas. So there are lots of colleges and universities out there. All right, let's talk a little bit about the US college degrees and what you can earn. Typically after high school, students will choose to pursue one of the following. They'll either go to a community college, which has the options of an associate's degree. You can earn an AS, an Associate of Science, or an AA, an Associate of Arts. And that's generally your 2-year degree. It's terminal. What that means is that is usually an AA, is usually the degree that a community college offers. So you do not get a bachelor's degree or a master's at your local community college. Some of the degrees that you can actually earn a nursing degree. You can do dental hygiene. Some of the programs are geared towards more technical employment in the future. So you can also transfer and earn a bachelor degree. So you could start out at a community college. You could finish up your general education and then go on and transfer to a 4-year college and earn what's called your bachelor's degree. So you can earn a Bachelor of Science, which is a BS, a Bachelor of Arts, which is a BA, or even a BFA, which is a Bachelor of Fine Arts. So there are a few different paths to choose from. And in the state of California specifically, the transferring from the community college to the bachelor's or to the university is very smooth. I actually did that. I started at community college in California, and then I transferred to the four-year state system in California. So it's actually a really good system. All right. Once you have finished your bachelor's, you can actually go on and earn your master's if you'd like, and that's usually another 1 to 3 years. And you can also do your PhD, and that will be known as your doctorate degree. So when you're talking about a PhD, you're talking about doctor, a lawyer, a pharmacist, degrees that will enable you to go into more specified areas of employment. So you can see that chart over here on the left where it's got the PhD at the top and the high school diploma on the bottom. And so that is pretty representative of the path that you can take. All right, so I briefly talked a little bit about the community college when I talked about the associate's degree, but community college is a place where students will go and they will get their general education, the basic classes that most students will need to do to lay the foundation for the university studies. So you can do community college. It's usually a little bit cheaper. You have a variety of classes. Many times you can take night courses, day courses, courses in the summer, and every major urban area has a community college for students. You also have your public colleges and you have your private colleges. And this is important to know the distinction because in the United States, it's a dual system. When you leave the United States, most countries have more of a public system. They're government funded, but in the US, we have private colleges. And this can make a difference in terms of how much it might cost to attend, in terms of private college versus public college, where you're gonna get your merit scholarships, which might be based on grades and test scores. So there's gonna be a difference between the two different types of systems. And of course, when you look at the private college, you've got, the Ivy League, which is the one that most people know about. Again, it's the Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Stanford, or Stanford's not part of the Ivy League, but they kind of call it like a near Ivy school. So Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Brown, Dartmouth, all of those schools on the East Coast, that would be the most elite of the private schools. All right, so community college offers an associate's degree, like I mentioned, and it offers majors that are not available to four-year colleges. So that you can do for police academy, firefighting school, dental hygiene. You can do nursing, and you can also do nursing as a four-year degree as well. Like I mentioned, they're in all major cities. They typically do not offer housing. They can be less expensive, so a little bit more cost-effective. And then, of course, they can prepare you to transfer to a four-year college or university. Popular state university or college systems, the four-year, would be the California State University system. And those would be schools like San Jose State. So you're going to find Chico State, San Diego State, a lot of those schools. There's about 23 of them in California. And then you have the UC system, University of California system, which everybody knows, UC Berkeley, UCLA. There's 10 of those schools, with the most recent added was UC Merced. Then, of course, you have the University of Texas system, when the flagship school is University of Texas at Austin. And you have other really great campuses, UT San Antonio, UT Tyler. There's a variety of the UTs in Texas. And then, of course, you have the SUNY system, or State University of New York. And you have a variety of public schools throughout the state. So those are some very popular systems in the different states. An advantage of public college, like I mentioned before, typically they're less expensive than private schools. They do get their funding from their state government, so they might have more rules, if you will, on the education and how they can use their money. But generally for in-state residents, so if you have established residency in your particular state, then your education is going to be cheaper than if somebody wants to come from out of state. Okay, and we'll go over that in a little bit on the cost of college. They may have less rigorous admission requirements, although I am seeing a lot of public schools getting a little bit more selective every year. So one thing to keep in mind is that public colleges are established generally to serve the students of that state. So you might find a wider variety of academic abilities within the students and the student body of that particular college or university. So they might have less rigorous admission requirements. They may have more majors to choose from. So you can find anything from petroleum engineering to a Bachelor in Fine Arts and Dance. They're going to have a variety of majors. Again, they want to educate their residents of their state. And they tend to be larger campuses in metropolitan areas. I think right now Arizona State University is the largest public school in the US with about 70,000 students. So that is a really big campus, serving a lot of people and a lot of students. So, and they also might have more opportunities outside of the classroom for research, study abroad, internships, and programs that will really enhance your learning when you're at the university. All right, so popular private colleges, again, including the Ivy League, you can see those listed. Generally, they admit less than 10% of their applicants. So they are what we call highly selective universities. So these are the ones that a lot of students know about, and they are definitely great schools in their own right, but they are not necessarily, the best fit for every student. Okay, other private colleges that you may have heard of would be, for example, Stanford or University of Southern California, all the way down to Boston University, MIT, University of Notre Dame in Indiana, and of course, George Washington and Chapman out here in California, Southern California, all the way over to Emory in Atlanta, NYU, which is New York University, down to Colgate, and even the New School in New York. Okay, let's talk about the advantages of private colleges. They can make their own admissions requirements. So we learned about the public colleges where they might have a little bit more regulation from their state government about who they can accept and the types of students that should be admitted. Whereas private colleges, they can do whatever they want. So they can make their own admissions requirements and they can make exceptions for special situations. So we all know of a story where a student is an athlete and maybe they use that as a way, as an extra boost, if you will, to enhance their application for college admission. So it could be based on a variety of factors, the way the admissions make their decisions. Typically, the private colleges have more money to spend on students, which means that they're going to offer what we call a tuition discount, but it's called a merit scholarship or a scholarship. Okay, so this is can be really exciting for students. I've had lots of students who've earned some really great merit scholarship money at private schools that will bring the tuition to what it would cost to attend an in-state school. So it can be possible to attend a private school and still pay roughly what it might cost to stay in-state. So that's an exciting feature about private colleges. They tend to have a smaller number of student enrollment. So private schools, while they can be in urban or rural areas, just like the universities, the public schools, they can have a smaller number of student enrollment. And what that means is that you would have smaller classes, more direct contact with faculty, maybe an easier option to be involved in extracurricular activities, things like that. So, it really depends on what the students are looking for and their college experience, whether they're going to go private or public. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the cost of college. This is everybody's favorite topic. Cost of college is not going down, unfortunately. So one of the things that we want to keep in mind and help everybody understand is that the two-year college is the cheapest option, right? It's the most financially affordable for families. Public two-year colleges can tend to have an in-district fee for students, which means that the students that live within a certain area, geographical area to their campus would have one fee. And then students coming in from out of the area, they might pay a little bit more, but still much less than what it would cost to go to the public four-year college. So public four-year colleges, they will have one tuition for in-state students. And being an in-state student is based on your residency. So every student will have to answer questions about where they live and for how long. And generally, if you have, spent a certain number of years in high school and then actually graduated from that high school within the state, then that is usually enough to qualify you for in-state status. Okay? So you can see here across the board on average, it's about $9,000 a year in tuition. This does not include what they call room and board, which is your meal plan and your dormitory. Okay? Public four-year colleges, if you are coming in from out of state, you are going to pay almost triple or a little more than double what it would cost for an in-state student. So for example, if you are a resident of California, the UC system might cost you roughly $36,000 a year for tuition, room, and board. If you are an out-of-state student, it's going to cost you about $55,000 a year for tuition, room, and board. So you can see that out-of-state students will pay more if they're going to come in from a different state. So that's something to keep in mind and to think about. A private four-year college is going to cost roughly the same for every student, regardless of where you are from. So for example, if you want to attend Stanford, it does not matter if you are already a resident of California or if you are coming in from Pennsylvania. Your tuition, room, and board is going to be roughly the same. Of course, we're not going to take into account financial aid or merit scholarships or anything like that. But there's generally one fee for every student in your private college system. All right, so let's give an example. If you're looking at Arizona State University and you live in the state, it's going to cost you roughly $27,000 a year. If you're out of state, it's going to cost you $43,000. If you are attending UCLA, in-state is $34,000, out-of-state is roughly $60,000. UT Austin, $36,000, out-of-state, $61,000. And then if you're looking at the last four schools, Yale, UPenn, University of Southern California, University of Chicago, all four of these schools are private schools. So again, you're going to have a one tuition fee scale that's going to be applied to everybody who applies and is admitted. No distinction of if you are actually from that state. Okay. Let's go back real quick to the total cost of attendance. I wanted to pause for a moment and talk about students who might be what they consider international students. So when I talk about the costs and fees associated with colleges and universities, generally that is the same. If you are an international student and you are not a US citizen or permanent resident, you're actually going to be paying the out-of-state price for the most part, depending on the state where you live. Okay, so if you are an international student, be prepared to pay roughly what it's going to cost for out-of-state for you. Okay, all right. Let's look at admission requirements. Generally, colleges are looking at your grades, your academic courses. They want to see that you're challenging yourself with what is being offered at your high school. So for example, if your school offers 13 advanced placement courses and you've only taken 2, you may not be considered very academically rigorous in your admission review. So you want to make sure that you are challenging yourself, and they will look for that. And so grades and academic courses are roughly the first 1 and 2 things that colleges and universities will look at when they're reviewing your file. They will also look at your exams. So it could be an SAT, an ACT, a subject test, whatever it is that you need to submit from a standardized testing point of view. Okay, so that's generally the third factor that the colleges are going to look at. And then what we call the secondary, which is everything else kind of mixed in together. So they're going to look at your extracurriculars. What have you been doing outside of school? Where do you spend your time? Do you participate in clubs, sports, volunteer? The biggest question I get is, well, what do colleges want to see? And what I tell students is you just do what you like to do. So develop interest in areas where you have passion, and don't force yourself to do things because you think the college wants to see that on your application. Colleges truly want to see what makes you you, and you will show that through your extracurriculars. We're also looking for any maybe type of leadership. Have you earned any honors or awards? And then of course they're definitely going to read those essays, which is your personal statement. And they're going to read recommendations from teachers and counselors. So those secondary criteria are all kind of mixed together. One is not necessarily more important than the other, but when you read all of them together, it really forms a picture of you as a student. And so that is part of the requirement review. All right. So other terms that you should know is that the common application is generally where students will apply to mostly private colleges and universities. This is an application that has, I would say, probably over 700 colleges and universities where you can open it up, fill out one general application, and then fill in other questions for the universities. So it's almost like a one-stop shop. So the common application is how most students are going to apply to college. Okay. You're also going to find that there are going to be other application systems. So for example, the University of Texas Austin and other universities, public universities in Texas will have what's called Apply Texas, and that is the state's way of getting students to apply. So you would not find any state schools of Texas on the Common App. The state of Texas has their own. You will also find that the UC system, University of California system, has their own special application. So if you are planning to apply to college in your senior year, you can expect that you're going to be juggling multiple application sites. So that's something that you should know and be ready to deal with. So it can get a little tricky, but with good planning, you'll be fine. The other thing to know is that you'll have to do an SAT or an ACT generally for your colleges and universities. There are some differences, and you can certainly go to each different website to check those out. But most colleges, well, in fact, all colleges and universities take the SAT or the ACT equally. I have not found any college or university in the US yet that says they prefer one over the other. So it really is a student choice about which one they're more familiar with, more comfortable with, and submitting the one where they score the best on. Okay. That being said, that little box over there on the bottom left is test optional. There is a growing movement in the US for colleges and universities to become test optional or test flexible. And what that means is that they are going to rely more heavily on other parts of the application, such as your personal statements, your essays, your teacher recommendations, your extracurricular activities, and they're not going to review any SAT or ACT score. So this is something to take into consideration. And these are not just random colleges and universities. These are some pretty significant colleges out there. Wake Forest, for example, in the Research Triangle of North Carolina is a test optional school. And there's many small liberal arts and science schools on the Northeast that are test optional. So that's something to think about. If you really feel like your strengths lie in other areas aside from the testing, then that might be a way to go. The other thing that you need to know is that you are going to have many types of decision plans to look at. Mostly private colleges will have a variety of ways of applying to their school. So you might hear early action, early decision, regular decision, rolling, priority. So there's lots of different deadlines that you can choose. So that's something to think about, and making sure that you're talking to the right counselors and advisors so that you can sit down and plan for the colleges where you want to apply and what decision plan you're going to apply under. So the main thing to know is that early decision is the most binding one, and generally you're going to apply by November 1st. You will have a decision by mid-December, and then if you are accepted, you are required to attend that university. So we could probably spend a full webinar on the different types of decision plans out there, but just to give you a heads up that you'll be working through that as well. All right, so what is our key recommendation? We really, really encourage you guys to start early. So certainly if you are a freshman or a sophomore, you've got some time. But time will move very quickly. So you want to make sure that you're thinking about this, and if you're attending this webinar at that point in your high school career, you're already ahead of probably most people. Junior year, this is the time to start. So the springtime and the junior year is really when you want to start planning and making your action plan, if you will. So, all right, do we have any questions out there? Let's see. All right, I can't see my questions.
So, yeah, Katie, no questions yet in that
Okay.
Q&A window. So let me just advise to the audience that the best way to ask your questions is that you would see a Q&A window or a tab in your toolbar. So that's the best way to put your questions in, and then Katie can respond to those questions live.
Okay, great. Let me go ahead and address the international student for a quick moment. I talked about that earlier when it came down to paying for college. And just so you know, if you are an international student, not a permanent resident or a US citizen, you will generally be expected to pay for college in full. So that's really important if that's going to be, you know, if you want to come and stay in the US for college, that you start working with an advisor to talk about what your options are. The great thing is that international students do actually have opportunities to get merit scholarships. So that's a really awesome thing for them. I've worked with a lot of international students who have earned some great scholarships. So, you know, but that is a distinction, is that the US citizens and permanent residents are the only ones that are able to apply for the federal-based financial aid. So I don't know if that's going to bring up any more questions or not, but that is something to keep in mind. Okay.
So Katie, while our audience is warming up for questions, and they seem to be a quiet group, hopefully not for too long. I would hope that at least the students in that group would warm up and send us a flurry of questions. So let me just ask you, how important are essays in the college admissions process, and are they, when people talk about things like personal statements, are they using that term interchangeably with essays, or at a high level there is no difference?
Yeah, that is a really good distinction that you made. The University of California system insists that it is called a personal statement. So they don't actually, University of California does not like the word essay. They want a personal statement, versus the common application, they will require an essay. Generally, what I tell students is the more selective the college you are applying, you know, could be an Ivy League, for example. If you are academically qualified, you have the high test scores, you have the awesome grades, you're taking the most APs that you can, they are actually going to rely a little bit more now on your essays, because they want to understand you more as a student outside the academics. So those essays and personal statements should not be taken lightly. They should be worked on and really just kind of written from the heart, and telling the college or university whatever it is that you want them to know about you. So it is important to do a good job on the essays and the personal statements. Okay, all right, I have a question about, I have a teacher who works with a lot of students worried about the immigration status and documentation and ability to attend or get financial aid for college.
Hi, Katie.
Yes.
If I can quickly interrupt, since you are going to be answering the questions live, perhaps if you can stop the screen share, that way the audience can see you in a full screen mode.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, there we
Awesome.
are. Great.
Thank
Okay. All right. So that is a good question about getting financial aid for college. And as I mentioned before, unless you are a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, you cannot get government-funded financial aid. However, that being said, I believe there are 4 states out there who actually will give their own financial aid from a statewide level. And that's getting into a lot of specifics, but I know Texas is one of those. Instead of the FAFSA, the students would fill out what's called the TAFSA, the TAFSA. So there could be money there from a state level, depending on where they live. But it's not going to change anytime soon with the FAFSA. You have to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. So, and it doesn't mean that your parents have to be a permanent resident or U.S. citizen. But if the student is, then you're gonna have a better option and opportunity for getting that financial aid package. Okay. All right. So another question: what is the difference between doing community college for 2 years versus 4-year university? If the community college is cheaper, and if you can get into 3rd year of a public or private, why is this not a very popular choice among students? That is a really good question, and it's all about personal choice. So one of the things that I mentioned before is that the public college or the community college can be a better option financially. So if you are driven by the idea that you need to fund your education, and you need to make sure that you're not, blowing your budget right away, then the community college might be the place for you. So that's personal choice. Another reason why students might actually try for a four-year university right away is that when you come in with your freshman class, you guys are all together for 4 years generally. So you might have a better sense of bonding, of getting involved in extracurriculars right away. Whereas if you transfer in the third year, you have to kind of start over like a freshman, making new friends, figuring out where to live, what the dorms are like. So it really is just, again, a personal choice and a personal preference. So yeah, hopefully that will, yeah.
Yeah, Katie, if I can, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but,
no, that's okay.
But once you're done, I want to add a point there.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the other thing to keep in mind on this question, that why don't more people take the community college option, I think there are two other things which, and one of them is very directly applicable to the first generation immigrant community, especially from places like India and China. We clearly see a sense of stigma attached to a two-year community college because I originally come from India. That's where I grew up. And we were a very brand conscious people in terms of education. So which is why in a lot of the first generation immigrants from India and China, there is so much of this aspiration about the top tier colleges that Katie talked about, Stanford or Harvard. I think that a lot of that is because of our cultural upbringing. I'm not here to judge anything. I'm not saying one is bad or other. I'm just stating facts. So there's a stigma attached to a two-year community college. People think that the child is a failure if they get to a two-year community college. Personally, I think, and that's UC Easy view, is that that's a flawed way of looking at things. I think that if you're trying to find a perfect fit, the right fit for your child, the community college should at least be considered as an option in the strategy. It may or may not be the right one for your child, but I think it should be considered. So Katie talked about several reasons for considering a community college. I would add one more, which is some kids are just not emotionally ready to leave home and go away to a four-year college, because typically a four-year college would require moving away from home and living away from home in either the dorm or some kind of apartment housing. There are several friends of mine where they, in the California Bay Area, where the students got into excellent, highly competitive colleges on the East Coast, but within 6 months or 9 months, they came back. They just were not ready to be away from home. So in one case, the kid got into Wellesley, which is a very highly ranked private college for girls only on the East Coast. I believe Hillary Clinton went there, Katie.
Yeah.
She just wasn't ready, so she came back home with the support of her parents, which I applaud them for. They supported the child's anxiety. And she spent 2 years in De Anza Community College here in Cupertino, and then she transferred to UC Berkeley from there. So students take all different kind of journeys, and as parents, the people that are on this call, I would urge you to keep an open mind to finding the right fit for your kid, keeping their emotional readiness in mind. And that's a big piece that that I think first generation immigrant parents should start focusing on, in addition to just college attendance.
And I agree. And in my experience in working in private schools, even in the US, there is a little bit of that stigma of I'm sending my child to an expensive private school, so they're going to go to a four-year college right away. So I think that stigma is there everywhere. I did work with a really nice international student from China a few years ago, and he had a four-year college acceptance, but his heart was set on going to the UC system. And I was in Texas at the time, and he decided, I'm not going to take my four-year acceptance. I'm going to go to a community college in California. And he did, and he was right. I mean, it is a little bit easier from the community college system to the UC system than it would be, trying to transfer from a four-year school in Texas to a four-year in California. So he made the right decision for him. You know, and I think that was really great that he could do that, and he had the support of his parents. So that's, you know, there's lots of personal reasons why you would choose a 2-year over a 4-year or a 4-year over a 2-year. So it really is just up to the student and what their priorities are.
Exactly. Yeah, there is no single college that's right for everyone.
Yeah.
Every kid is different. Every family is different. And if you choose to work with, say, someone like Katie to help your child with the college admissions process, a part of what she will help you with will be to select that, or to guide you with selecting that right or the perfect fit college for your child.
Mm-hmm. This year, like I mentioned before, I have 6 seniors, and they all have university acceptances. They've all been accepted to a 4-year university, but I do have one student who will probably attend community college because it will be financially a little bit easier for the family, and I think that's just fine. So she will transfer and she will start college when and how she needs to. So.
Okay, so let's see whether the audience has any more questions.
I don't see any right now.
Not right now. Okay, so let's do this. While they're thinking of a few more questions, let me quickly, there's one more that came up.
Okay. All right, so a good question about extracurriculars. What is looked for in clubs and schools as part of extracurricular activities? So this is a good question. This goes back to what should I be doing for colleges and universities? And again, the answer is, what is it that you like to do? Students need to find their own path. They need to decide if they are an athlete, if they are a musician, if they are an artist, if they like to spend their time volunteering. And that is not a decision that anybody can make for the student except for the student themselves. So generally, I'm going to tell a student, join the clubs and do the things where you're interested. Then, once you have decided this is what you really like to do, take it to the next level. So an example I'll give to students all the time is that maybe they're a competitive swimmer in high school. They've won a lot of competitions, they've gone to state, they're a master of, you know, the different strokes, and they have all these medals. So the way they can take this to the next level then is maybe go ahead and get your CPR certification, start, you know, apply for a lifeguard job every summer and be a lifeguard at the local pool or the local lake or wherever it is that you live near. Maybe if you're entrepreneurial, start your own swimming lessons. So it's still having the student involved in what they like to do, which is swimming, and then perhaps taking it to some different levels. So the one thing that you probably want to avoid is being in the French club all 4 years and not really doing anything with that. So colleges do want to see students with passion, but they also want to see the students taking it to the next level wherever they can, whether it's leadership or trying new things within that area. All right. Okay, another good question. What's your general recommendation for how many schools a student should apply to, and what is too many? So I've had students apply to 1 school, and I've had students try to apply to 30. So the question surrounding this is, again, it's personal choice. However, most college counselors will say, you know, generally 10 to 12. Depending on where you're looking, you could be as little as 5 and be comfortable with that. Maybe you need to branch out a little bit more and do, you know, 15. But really, if the student has done their research, has looked at the schools where they feel they're going to be best fit, they really don't need to apply to a lot of schools. And the reason is if they're applying too broadly, they're going to rush their applications, and they're not going to take the time that they need to take to answer all of those essay questions. Because I guarantee you, you're going to be writing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different personal statements, and you really don't want to do that. So you don't want to sacrifice the quality for the quantity of applications. You know, if you decide that you need to apply to a little bit more than, you know, 10 or 12 or 15, that's fine, but also keep in mind that it's going to be a little costly. It's going to cost you between $50 and $70 per application. Plus, it's going to cost you every time you send your SAT or ACT score. So there is a little bit of a financial commitment in even applying to college. So generally, I would say between 8 and 10, and you're gonna be fine.
Okay, Katie, let's take a quick pause here.
Okay.
Let me just quickly talk about how to engage with UC Easy in case any of the audience wants to get your help.
Great.
And then we will take a few more questions before we call it a day.
Great, take it away.
Thank you. Katie, can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay.
Put it on slideshow there. Well, almost a slideshow.
Okay.
Perfect.
So early on, when I was introducing UC Easy, I had mentioned that we have a business element to the social element of UC, in addition to the UC Easy social element. So as a part of that, we have a large team of experts, Katie Watts being an excellent example of those. Those are, they call college admission experts, or broadly, they call college admission counselors. So if you think that in addition to getting college admissions related help through these free seminars that we do, and we continue doing that, you can learn about on ucec.com/events, our free applications, web applications, etc. If you think that you need additional help, private one-on-one help through someone like Katie Watts, then we'll be happy to provide that to you. And you can learn more by going to this site, union.uceasy.com, or just email us or call us, and we will walk you through the process. The way this works is that in majority of the cases, you will be speaking with somebody from the UC Easy team like me. We will explain the program to you. We will help you select the counselor. I'm hoping that for the audience today, it'll be Katie Watts, but we can help you select the counselor, and then you start with an hour of consultation with her. The prices for Katie are given at this site, and then just to motivate you to act sooner than later, we are offering a $50 discount on the first hour if you place the order by tomorrow midnight. Then after that, after the first hour, we have different programs for different grades that we can talk to you about, and you can upgrade from the 1 hour to the program for that grade. If you do that within 2 weeks, then you get a full credit for the first hour that you pay. Again, you can, if you want to learn more, you can email us or call us. This is just a general sense of the kind of activities that Katie Watts and other team members would help you with. So in the 8th and 9th grade, we typically talk about laying the foundation. And the big message here is that start thinking about extracurriculars. That's what Katie talked about. And then we talk about, we will help you with course selection. So if your kid goes to a public high school, most of you would need to provide your course selection choices for the next year, sometime this month or next month. And to choose those correctly is very important in terms of the right mix of regular courses versus high-level courses, etc. And a lot of first-generation immigrant families don't get that right because we never went to high school here. So someone like Katie can help you with course selection. Then we can talk about summer planning. How best to use those 2.5 months of time when the kid is physically and mentally free. So we will talk about additional coursework if there is a need to do that, and extracurriculars. In 10th grade, we do all of those. Then we also start incorporating the strategy for the testing, SAT, ACT, practice SAT, SAT2 subject test, all of that stuff we will talk about. And then if you are in the junior year, then the program becomes pretty intense because now we have to start putting the college list together and start talking about the actual application process, essays, and all that. So hopefully this gives you a general idea of what the program is. Please continue looking for our additional events at this site. As I mentioned before, recordings of today's session and prior sessions are available. Again, on this page, you will need to create a free login. And for those of you who think that your coworkers at your workplace could benefit from these free seminars, please invite us and we'll be happy to come there and talk to your coworkers. There is a feedback poll that we launched. Please fill that. It'll allow us to improve. And lastly, if you think that this free webinar today it was of value, then please help us by liking our social media sites, and that way other people can also know about us. So with that, Katie, if you can just take maybe 1 or 2 more questions and then call it a day.
Great, we have 3 more, and so I'll try and get through all those 3. One of the questions is, what if a student has maintained a 4.0 GPA, but does not qualify for advanced courses, and how will this affect our college applications? And I think it really depends on where they're applying, but it also depends on why. What is the situation? Why is a student with a very high GPA, roughly A's in all their classes, why are they not pushing themselves to do APs? Or why did they choose not to? So that is going to come out in your personal statement or your essay. So that might be something that the admissions officers might scratch their heads and think about. So you would definitely want to make sure that you are explaining that in some way on your application about the reasoning for that. And there could be lots of reasons why a student is not taking APs. But that is really your personal narrative and your chance to tell your story about that. All right, so what is a good example of leadership to be achieved? So really, leadership is really just taking it to the next level. So it could be as overt as becoming the student body president, or it could be the opportunity to maybe teach some courses, piano courses to neighborhood kids. It really just depends on what you define leadership and how you are as a leader. Not every student is the outspoken student who has a platform and is ready to conquer all the social ills, right? So you just want to make sure that you are diving in a little bit deeper into your activities. You want to go an inch wide and a mile deep, basically. So it could be any type of leadership that you want to show. Again, the example of just being in the French club for 4 years and just being a regular guest there or a regular member, but not really doing anything with the club, that may not be as favorable as somebody who has taken it to the next level and organized community service or activities or things of those nature. All right, last question. This is a good one. When it comes to the researching colleges that are a good fit, how easy is it to find out if the school is a reach or a match? What are ways to get that info beyond just the school's website? So when we talk about target, reach, or stretch, and then solid or safety schools, generally we start with what is the middle 50% of the test score range. So every year colleges and universities will release what their admits were for the previous year's class. So they might say for our incoming freshman class next year, the students were roughly in the ACT range of a 30 to a 33. That was the middle 50%. And the average GPA of our incoming class was a 3.5 unweighted or weighted, what have you. So that is a good place to start. And you can assess your grades and test scores up against what the college has said that they have admitted for the following year. There's lots of different websites you can go to, one of them being the College Board. They have a college search function. You can go on there and you can look up those stats. And if you are in a school that uses Naviance, which I know a lot of students are, you can certainly get on there and check out what they call the scattergrams. And that is extremely helpful because that will tell you the history of students in your particular school and how they fared at the colleges where they have applied over the years. So that is a good way of assessing where you might be in terms of target reach or solid or safety. Okay, and I think that is it.
Yep, awesome, Katie. Thank you for taking the time on a Sunday afternoon. This was great. Appreciate your time. So let me thank our audience, especially the parents on this call, for taking time from a siesta or just TV watching or walking your dog and all the fun stuff or Starbucks that you could have done. Instead of that, you are here to support your child. That's awesome. Katie and I thank you for that. Thank you for joining, and we hope to see you at one of these events in future as well. So have a great rest of the weekend. Have a great coming week. Thanks again. Katie, do you want to say anything?
No, just thanks for attending. And if there's any way that we can help, please reach out and let us know. We are all here to help. So.
Thanks a lot, Katie. See you.
Okay. All right, everyone.